number 2 is going to be very interesting. It's actually going to be 2 speeches combined into one with Paula and Reed. Reed Schloss and Paula Cohen will be simulating a talk show interview for project number 2 from the Communicating on Video Advanced Communication Manual. Would the 2 evaluators, the Hutchinsons, please give the objectives?
Yes, so Paula is the host, and she is doing the when you're the host. And so her role is to think about the kind of questions she's asking, making sure she's asking open-ended questions and exploring the why and the how and managing the guests to make sure he doesn't get out of control.
And Reed, in his project, The Interview Show, is supposed to be enthusiastic, not overwhelm his audience with facts and statistics, use humor carefully, listen carefully, be himself, stay calm, know where to look, and part his hair on the right side. No, I'm kidding. That last one's good. Right. And he has 5 to 7 minutes. I'm sure this will be incorporated inside the other presentation.
Reed will be interviewing on Paula's weekly Toastmaster podcast. The first segment of the interview is a chance for you and Paula's audience to get to know Reed. After approximately 3 minutes, Paula will transition to a video clip of Reed, an editorial on Reed's tiered utility pricing. Did I read that right? Tiered, thank you, utility pricing. After the video, Paula will wrap up her podcast interview with Reed in 2 to 3 minutes. You should consider yourself members of Paula's live recording audience for her podcast taping. Please help me welcome Paula Cohen and Reed Schloss.
Welcome to our weekly Toastmasters podcast, Reed Schloss.
I'm going to start that again. We're looking at the camera. This is on video.
Welcome to our weekly Toastmasters podcast. We are going to be getting to know a very acclaimed Toastmaster today, and his name is Reed Schloss. Reed, I've known you for a few years now, and I find you to be a very inspirational person. Then I read your bio, and I was even more inspired. You have quite a list of hobbies and interests that include such things as shooting video, which we're doing today, snowboarding and snow blowing, volunteering and providing service. And I'm curious, of this list, which one of your hobbies really gets your juices going the most? Which one really excites
the
you?
one that you didn't mention off that list is the one that actually excites me the most, and that's I love Toastmasters. I live and breathe it seems like. I've become a Toastmaster junkie, if you will. I belong to 3 clubs, and I seem like I'm doing Toastmasters every day, which is actually fun. It's a highlight. It takes me away from the grind of my work.
Awesome. Yes, and I think many of us here today are also Toastmaster junkies, which is why we're here. And I also was very impressed by the fact that you have over 100 YouTube videos published. And I would like to ask you, if I were to go looking up your YouTube videos, which one are you the proudest of that I should go and see?
I think the one I'm most proud of is this one that I just completed. It's actually a rapid sketch artist whiteboard video that I just created. And I was challenged to see if I could create it by my boss. And I worked for about 3 weeks trying to perfect it until all of a sudden one day it all came together and it actually became an animation of what I do and with the product that I work on. And that to me is actually one of my funnest videos at this point. I must confess though, many of those published videos are actually not mine. They're Toastmasters that I videotaped and actually we've published for them to watch.
Well, you're the one who did the videotaping, so they're still yours, in my estimation. A very interesting thing that I know about you also, and I wanted to ask you, and this is a little bit of a sensitive topic, but I know that your wife Sherry has cystic fibrosis and that she's on a transplant list waiting for a double lung transplant. And I want to know, how has that dynamic in your lives impacted you, and has it made you more sensitive about certain things or anything like that?
Well, it's a hard disease to live with. Sherry is a geriatric from the standpoint of CF. Many kids in the early 70s and 80s, they didn't, live past the age of 3. By the time I married Sherry, life expectancy was 14. She was 19 at that time. The age now of expectancy is much higher. It's 28 to 30. Well, Sherry's almost doubled that at this point. But she, having lived with this disease, both of us now for over 25 years, it has taught us to appreciate life more. It's getting harder though, because it's restrictive. It doesn't allow you to feel like you can go anywhere because there's complications that come along, that you want to be closer to doctors who can help you out. For me though, it's actually built an empathy for everyone, because it's made me realize that even though Sherry has this disease and it's challenging, everyone has challenges, and they are very real to them, just as chronic as Sherry's. And so I guess it's made me more empathetic for others.
Well, thank you for that. I am wondering if perhaps you could tell us a little bit about this video we're going to see. We're getting ready to view a video that you created, and is there any kind of an introduction you want to give us for it, or do you want us to just see it and then you'll tell us about it afterwards?
Well, I can give you a quick intro to it. This is project number 1 of Communicating on Video Advanced Toastmaster Manual. It's the editorial. I found this very tough because it's supposed to be 2 to 3 minutes in length. The first take was about 7 minutes. That normal 5 to 7 minute range really was a struggle to break down. It was also to be about a topic that's controversial. I don't get into controversial topics very easily, but this one was one that I see every month when I get my utility bill. So I decided to create this video.
Great. And can we roll the video now?
Let's see if this is going to work. My name is Reed Sloss, and I'm a concerned citizen living in northern Colorado. I wanted to speak out against a trend associated with tiered utility pricing practices happening in my community and other municipalities throughout the United States. I would like you to consider for a moment if you would purchase bananas from your local grocer if he priced his bananas in the following manner. The first 2 bananas cost you $1 each, for a total of $2. If you buy 1 more banana, that costs you $3 for a total of $5 for 3 bananas. Purchase a 4th and 5th banana, and your cost per banana jumps to $5, for a grand total of $15 for 5 bananas. Did you get that? Doesn't make sense, does it? Well, that's exactly what tiered pricing looks like when you apply it to the grocery store. So would you buy bananas from a grocer that charged you using tiered pricing? Absolutely not. Most of us understand market pressures and that buying in larger quantities typically reward consumers with lower prices. So why do our local officials not understand that? This absurdity of using a backward business model for utility pricing just doesn't make sense. I have always seen that a fair market naturally reacts to scarcity, but we aren't dealing with a fair market. It's a municipality monopoly. If tiered pricing was fair, then there wouldn't be a need for exceptions and fixes to loopholes. A flat fee is the fair fee. One way to explain the need to raise prices is that our utilities are spending more on trying to tell us how incompetent we are than doing business. Soon after my utility bill arrives, I receive another letter in the mail that shows me how I rate in my utility usage with efficient neighbors in my neighborhood. My number? I'm in the 95th percentile of excessive usage. What I don't understand is why all my neighbors have a similar number. Where is this efficient neighbor that is throwing the curve? Let me ask you this. If you were a business owner, would you ever seriously consider sending a letter to all of your customers, making them feel guilty for using your product? Heavens no. Aren't you tired of paying so much for your utilities? I am. Are you tired of being compared to some imaginary efficient neighbor in your neighborhood? I am. If so, then it's time to call your city officials. Tell them it's time for some market-driven competition in the utility space, or get rid of that temporary tiered utility pricing that isn't so temporary. Then call your city utility manager and tell them how you really feel about those usage propaganda letters. And between you and me, maybe we can get them to cease and desist with those expensive mailings. Do something today, because without us, they would be out of business.
Well, that's very interesting. And I thought, well spoken. I like the way you had the setting there with the Colorado flag. What are you going to do with this video?
I'm going to put it on YouTube and make it go viral.
That's very cool.
No, for me, the one that's completely insane in this whole video is the letters that we get that compare us. I still have, to this day, I have not found anyone that has a lower than 90% usage compared to efficient neighbors. I guess they're actually just taking into account the vacant homes in my neighborhood. I don't know.
I was going to say.
Anybody here that has
Mine's 51.
51?
If you're saying electric, it's mine is 7, 8.
78?
7, 8. Less than 10.
Less than 10.
10%.
Efficient neighbor.
There's the efficient neighbor.
Throw the card back.
Here's your other one.
Uh-oh.
I've been number 2.
Number 2.
When you
How do you
want
use that with
efficient?
computers at home?
I turned them off.
So, if you want to know about that, the kilowatt meter is on sale in Newegg. Measure whatever goes on, where you're spending the energy.
We learn something every day on your podcast. Thank you very much.
Well, and I just wonder if this isn't a way for the utilities to try to discourage usage of a limited resource. Do you think this is a misguided way to try to do that?
Well, again,
that
as
their
I said, would you ever
motivation?
send a letter to your consumers or to your customer and make them feel guilty for using your product? Obviously, you wouldn't. So there's probably a different way to market that. But there's also aspects of this. In my case, Sherry's concentrators are running all day, and I can't cut back on that electric consumption. I can't turn everything off in my house. Neither can we. You know, we have refrigerators and freezers. That would be great. Wake up the next morning with the freezer unthawed. That would not be a good thing. But those are some of the challenges that I see when I look at that. It's like guilt trip, and personally, I don't need guilt.
And that is a great note for us to end on today. Personally, I don't need guilt either, and I have greatly enjoyed interviewing you today, Reed Schloss, and may you be successful in your bid to get the utility companies to respond.
Thank you.